Scottie Scheffler is heading into the 2026 US Open at Shinnecock Hills with a chance to do something only 6 men in history have ever done: complete the career Grand Slam. He already has 2 Masters titles, a PGA Championship, and an Open Championship to his name. The only major missing from his collection is the US Open, and this June, the stage is set at one of the most iconic venues in American golf. What makes the storyline even more compelling is that the final round of the 2026 US Open falls on Scheffler's 30th birthday, on June 21st. That kind of narrative does not get written by accident. But while Scheffler is focused on making history at Shinnecock Hills, the world around him in professional golf is changing at a pace that even the best players on the planet are struggling to keep up with. The PGA Tour is being redesigned from the ground up. The golf ball itself is being rolled back. Rules that have existed for decades are being rewritten. And some of those changes hit closer to home for Scheffler than most people realize. Here is where the story gets personal. Scheffler has always made it a point to play the CJ Cup Byron Nelson at TPC Craig Ranch. This is not just another tournament on the calendar for him. He made his first start on the PGA Tour as a 17-year-old at that very event, with his sister carrying his clubs. He has since won the tournament with a record low score. The same goes for Jordan Spieth, who is a regular at the Byron Nelson year after year. Now, under the proposed restructuring of the PGA Tour, top-ranked players like Scheffler may be strongly discouraged or outright prevented from playing what would be classified as Track 2 events. For a player with Scheffler's world ranking and status, the Byron Nelson would almost certainly fall into that second tier. The rule, if implemented, could strip players of the ability to choose tournaments based on personal history and emotional connection, and replace that choice with a bureaucratic restriction. This proposal is not coming from nowhere. It is a central piece of the PGA Tour's most ambitious restructuring plan in decades, driven by a man named Brian Rolapp. Rolapp is a former NFL executive who became the PGA Tour CEO in June 2025. He is 53 years old, and he came into the role with a clear mandate: rebuild the tour into something that works for fans, players, and partners simultaneously. The structural framework guiding this effort is the Future Competition Committee, chaired by Tiger Woods, which has held more than 30 meetings across working groups, player meetings, and board sessions. At his press conference ahead of the 2026 Players' Championship, Rolapp laid out 6 key themes shaping the tour's future, with a target of full implementation by the 2028 season. The first theme is the season structure. The PGA Tour is looking at a schedule running from late January to early September, featuring somewhere between 21 and 26 first-track events. These would include at least double the current number of signature events. There are currently 8 $20 million tournaments, plus the Players' Championship, the 4 major championships, the postseason, and the relevant team event each year. The second theme is consistent fields. Rolapp and the committee want to move away from the small field, no-cut model that has defined recent signature events. The target is 120 player fields with a 36-hole cut. As things stand, only 3 signature events currently include a cut, with field sizes hovering between 72 and 80 players. It helps fans know who they will see and showcases who they want to see, the most competitive players, Rolapp said. It helps partners know what they are investing in, and it helps players better understand the competitive landscape in their schedules, all while embracing meritocracy. The third theme is to open big. Rolapp wants to launch the season with a marquee event at an iconic venue on the West Coast, timed to finish in prime time on the East Coast. The practical consequence of this is that the Hawaiian swing, which has been part of the PGA Tour calendar since the 1990s, appears to be heading toward elimination. The fourth theme involves major markets. The PGA Tour currently plays in only 4 of the top 10 largest U.S. media markets: Los Angeles, Dallas-Fort Worth, Houston, and Atlanta. Rolapp is pushing to bring events to New York, Chicago, Philadelphia, San Francisco, Washington, D.C., and Boston. The fifth and arguably most controversial theme is promotion and relegation. Rolapp drew an explicit comparison to English football, where clubs move between the Premier League and the Championship based on annual performance. You see this work powerfully elsewhere, including in English football, where clubs move between the Premier League and the Championship based on their performance, Rolapp said. Applying elements of that approach to the PGA Tour creates real consequence, lifting the competitive standard across the entire platform. The sixth theme is an enhanced postseason, with the potential introduction of match play, either at the Tour Championship or across the postseason as a whole, creating win-or-go-home moments at the end of the season. The 2-track model creates a structure where the best players compete in Track 1 elevated events, while a Track 2 of tournaments runs alongside with purses between $8 and $10 million and bigger fields. There would be promotion and relegation between the 2 tiers based on performance. But the most contentious element, reported by Golfweek's Eamon Lynch, is that players eligible for Track 1 events would be strongly discouraged or potentially prevented from entering Track 2 events entirely. That is the rule that puts Scheffler's Byron Nelson participation directly in jeopardy. Player reactions have been mixed but mostly candid. Patrick Rogers, who attended meetings in Los Angeles during the Genesis Invitational, said the transparency from Rolapp has been a genuine positive. The transparency has been really good. I think since he's come in he's done a really nice job. I like the vision that he's presented, Rogers said. His main concern has been ensuring the best players are actually in the biggest tournaments, something he feels the recent schedule has not always delivered. Mackenzie Hughes, a former Player Advisory Council member, expressed support for the expanded field sizes but voiced concern about the number of tour cards potentially being reduced from 100 to 90. I've heard them talking about reducing to 90 cards versus 100. I thought 100 sucks. Now at 90, that really sucks. That's just so tight, Hughes said. He eventually stepped away from the pack after feeling that player input was not genuinely influencing decisions. Joe Highsmith pointed to a real-world consequence of the signature event model, the decline of events like the Cognizant Classic at PGA National, a tournament he won. I remember it from a young age and that was a pretty primo event on the schedule, and now with everything they've done none of the top guys are playing it and probably not a lot of people are paying attention to it, he said. Rory McIlroy, who turned 37 in May 2026, has taken the most relaxed position of any top player. He has made no secret of his desire to reduce his playing schedule, and the Track 1 restriction would not concern him. That's what Tiger used to do. He picked and chose what events he wanted to play where he felt like he had the best cadence to his schedule, and where he had the best chance to win, McIlroy previously said. Not everyone is sold on Rolapp's vision. Two concerns stand out as genuine red flags for the tour's identity. The first is the potential end of Hawaii. The Century at Kapalua's Plantation Course and the Sony Open at Wiley have served as a comforting winter opening to the golf season for decades. Removing them in pursuit of primetime East Coast television ratings would eliminate something that millions of fans have come to associate with the start of a new golf year. The second is the small market question. The Travelers Championship in Hartford, Connecticut is the second highest attended non-major on the entire PGA Tour calendar. Harbor Town at Hilton Head is one of the most architecturally beloved venues in the sport. The idea of abandoning events in markets like these to chase bigger cities, where golf would be competing against multiple major sports franchises, is a genuine strategic risk. As one analyst noted, the NFL's most loyal fan bases include Green Bay, US media market number 68, and Buffalo, market number 54. Market size does not determine passion. Rolapp has called the concern about smaller markets a misconception, but the math is difficult to ignore. If the Track 1 schedule features 21 to 26 events and the Tour wants to add multiple large market stops, something has to go. Separate from the Tour's structural overhaul, the USGA and R&A have been pushing forward with a plan to limit how far the golf ball can travel. The rollback will affect professional players starting January 2028 and recreational golfers by 2030. The numbers are significant. The longest hitters on tour, players with the fastest clubhead speeds, will see reductions of 14 to 15 yards with the driver. The average PGA Tour pro will lose somewhere between 9 and 11 yards. LPGA players will see reductions of 5 to 7 yards. Male amateurs with average swing speeds around 93 miles per hour will lose 3 to 5 yards at most. The reasoning behind the rollback is grounded in a real problem. Driving distances on the PGA Tour have been increasing at roughly 1 yard per year for 2 decades. Iconic courses like the Old Course at St. Andrews are being stretched beyond their architectural limits. Longer courses require more water, more renovation, and more money to maintain. The original solution proposed by the governing bodies was bifurcation, a separate, rolled-back ball only for professional competition, leaving recreational golfers untouched. Tiger Woods publicly supported that approach. As I told you guys, I've always been for bifurcation, Woods said. I've always said that. Just like wood bats and metal bats in baseball. McIlroy also preferred bifurcation. But elite players and equipment manufacturers pushed back hard because they believed it would hurt their commercial relationships and bottom lines. The result was a universal rollback for everyone. The people who are upset about this decision shouldn't be mad at the governing bodies, they should be mad at elite pros and club ball manufacturers because they didn't want bifurcation, McIlroy wrote on X. Bifurcation was the logical answer for everyone, but yet again in this game, money talks. McIlroy also pushed back on the idea that the rollback would meaningfully harm recreational golfers. I don't believe an average golfer giving up 5 to 10 yards off the tee is going to have a material effect on their actual score, handicap, or enjoyment of the game. The opposition has been loud and direct. Justin Thomas delivered a 3-minute response at the Valspar Championship that he himself described as a rant. My reaction was disappointed and also not surprised, to be honest. I think the USGA over the years has, in my eyes, it's harsh, but made some pretty selfish decisions, Thomas said. They definitely, in my mind, have done a lot of things that aren't for the betterment of the game, although they claim it. Thomas also challenged the logic of targeting the top fraction of players. They're basing it off the top 0.1% of all golfers. You know what I mean? I don't know how many of y'all consistently play golf in here, but I promise none of you have come in from the golf course and said, you know, I'm hitting it so far and straight today that golf's just not even fun anymore. The most striking element of Thomas's position is that he openly admitted the rollback would actually benefit him personally as a player, and he still opposed it on principle because of what it would mean for the game at large. Bryson DeChambeau called the proposal the most atrocious thing that you could possibly do to the game of golf, adding that distance is part of what makes his brand compelling to fans. Sam Burns called it pretty silly, arguing that watching players hit the ball 350 yards is part of the entertainment value of professional golf. Webb Simpson suggested the focus should shift to course design, tighter fairways, more rough, more doglegs, rather than neutering the ball. There is also a practical argument that the rollback may ultimately be self-defeating. Driving distances continued rising after the 2023 announcement, reaching 302.8 yards on average in 2025, up from 299.9 at the end of the 2023 season. If that trajectory continues to 2030, the rollback may simply return the average to where it was when the rule was first proposed, achieving nothing except years of industry disruption. All of this policy discussion became viscerally real at the 2025 PGA Championship at Quail Hollow Club in Charlotte, North Carolina. The property had received 5 inches of rain in the 2 days preceding the tournament. The fairways were soft. Mud balls were inevitable. In the first round, Scheffler and Scheffler both striped tee shots into the middle of the 16th fairway, 322 and 323 yards respectively, only to have mud on their balls cause both approaches to fly into the water. Both made double bogeys. It was one of the most striking illustrations of how a rules decision can override skill at the highest level. The PGA of America had declined to implement preferred lies, issuing a statement that read, "We do not plan to play preferred lies. The playing surfaces are outstanding and are drying by the hour." Scheffler's response was measured but pointed. "I understand how a golf purist would be, oh, play it as it lies," he said. "But I don't think they understand what it's like literally working your entire life to learn how to hit a golf ball and control it and hit shots and control distance, and all of a sudden due to a rules decision that is completely taken away from us by chance." Scheffler was more blunt. "We had to aim right of the grandstands probably. I aimed right of the bunker and it whipped in the water and Scottie whipped it in the water, as well. It's just unfortunate to be hitting good shots and to pay them off that way. It's kind of stupid." Not every player shared the frustration. Ryan Fox, who shot 4 under 67, said he had expected the PGA of America to hold firm and that only one of his shots was meaningfully affected. Alex Smalley shot 4 under 68 and said, "It didn't really affect a lot of the shots out there." The divide in reactions was, to some extent, correlated with how each player had scored. While the bigger debates about tour structure and ball rollbacks are still being resolved, 6 concrete rule changes came into effect at the start of the 2026 PGA Tour season, beginning at the Sony Open in Honolulu. The first change reduces the penalty for an unknowingly moved ball from 2 strokes to 1, provided the player had no awareness that the ball had moved. This was directly triggered by what happened to Shane Lowry at the 2025 Open Championship at Royal Portrush, where he was assessed a 2-stroke penalty for a ball that moved fractionally during a practice swing, something he had no knowledge of at the time. The second change expands embedded ball relief so that a player can now take free relief if their ball comes to rest in any player's pitch mark, not only their own. Previously, the rule only covered a player's own pitch mark, which had led to unfair outcomes at events including the 2025 PGA Championship. The third change limits internal out of bounds to apply only to shots played from the teeing area. Previously, internal OB lines installed to prevent players from driving onto adjacent fairways were also penalizing players further down the hole who simply needed to chip sideways. The fourth change broadens the category of immovable obstructions near the putting green. The existing rule already covered sprinkler heads within 2 club lengths of the green. It now includes other obstructions like microphone holes left after equipment is removed. The fifth change allows players to repair or replace a significantly damaged club mid-round using components from their own bag, as long as the damage was not caused by abuse. This removes the logistical chaos of having to retrieve replacement equipment from the locker room during a competitive round. The sixth and final change reduces the relief area for preferred lies from a full club length, approximately 46 inches, to scorecard length, approximately 11 inches. This brings the PGA Tour into alignment with virtually every other major tour in the world and eliminates a situation where players near the green could use the generous relief area to change the grain of the grass on a chip shot. We're probably the only major organization that's not conducting preferred lies with a shorter relief area, said Steve Rintel, the PGA Tour's Vice President of Rules and Officiating. I think we are probably the last ones to catch up with this. These 6 changes are not theoretical. They are already in play, affecting every competitive round on the PGA Tour right now, as Scottie Scheffler and every other player in the field prepares to tee it up at Shinnecock Hills, where history is waiting, if he can claim it.